there is a substantial discussion to be had about this. This medication, if you couldn't tell by the design here in the background, is meant to be consumed by horses. Now, horses are a member of the equine family. Maybe. I'm not really even sure. I don't know anything about horses, and I do not like horses. I do not like horses because horses do not like me. Now, I have, come in contact with several horses in my life. And they all have dictated to me in one way or another that my presence is not welcome. I think my best guess is because I'm so tall. It makes them scared. And at times I am pretty heavy, and I don't think they want me to be riding on their backs. And I have done that. I've ridden a horse, and it was almost as if they just wanted it to be over before it began. The reason why I tell you all that is because I am a licensed pharmacist in 4 states. I am not a licensed farrier in 4 states. Or jockey or anything. I'm not a licensed horse. End of sentence, for some reason. However, this is a medication for horses, which I know a decent amount about. But there is one mystery about this that I am not sure about. And I hope, my desire is that perhaps someone watching this will be able to answer this question. This is for the prevention of gastric ulcers in horses. Once a day dosing with a well-accepted paste. I'm interpreting well accepted as tasty. It is palatable to the horse. I have not tasted this myself. However, I am not above doing that. I'm curious, what does it taste like? But as far as I know, there has not been enough demand for me or any other human to try this and report back on the taste. In the animal world, there are brand names Ulcer Guard, and the active chemical is Omeprazole. Now, Omeprazole is something I feel like most humans are acquainted with. Omeprazole is what's known as a PPI, proton pump inhibitor. And what this does is it turns off a switch, an enzyme in the stomach that is a proton pump. A proton, if you didn't know, is a hydrogen atom. And it is essentially acid. When we measure acid, it is essentially only a concentration of hydrogen ions. So what this does is it goes, and I'm going to be very careful how I say this. It goes into your stomach. It passes through the stomach in humans unchanged into the intestines. In the intestines is where it is absorbed, not the stomach, which is the case for virtually every medicine, with only a few exceptions. It gets absorbed into your bloodstream, and then the chemical, and I commonly call this like going back around to the back door of the stomach. It does that, and then it touches or interacts with this receptor, and it stops the pumping of the hydrogen into the stomach. Now, why would somebody want to do that? Ulcers, heartburn. If you have too much acid in your stomach, it creeps back up through one of the, I believe it's a sphincter muscle, right, at the top of the stomach, and it goes into the esophagus. And that is bad. That hurts. That is what is known as heartburn, which has absolutely nothing to do with the heart. That confused me for at least 7 years, I would say. I don't know what idiot at one point in time thought, oh, we should call this heartburn. I mean, if you experience this effect, you know very well it's not your heart. And the cells in the esophagus, the skin, it's not actually skin, but the cells that line the esophagus, they are not protected from the layer of mucus that the stomach is. They are different cells. And along with hurting the esophagus, it has this acid being there, has the ability to change these cells. They get confused. They're like, what's all this acid doing here? We need to change to protect ourselves from it. And when you elicit that change, that is a predisposition to cancer. It's called Barrett's esophagus. Look it up. Look it up. So this is more than just skirting an inconvenience. Now with a horse, I don't know how long horses live, but maybe it's not as much, the whole cancer thing, maybe it's not as much of an issue, but with humans it is. With humans it is. And that's what omeprazole does. Approved by FDA under NADA number 141227. What's the difference in veterinary medicine, regulatory standards, and human? Quite frankly, not much. Not much. I really don't know what the difference is from beginning to end to getting a veterinary product on the market versus a human. But it evidently is similar. That's what all the resources that I could find would say. Could a human take this? I don't think so. And let me explain why. When you look at this, okay, every pharmacist watching this video has the exact same question, and this is where I need the horse experts to weigh in. See, it says here, for once daily administration of Ulcerguard is recommended in horses exposed to stressful conditions or activities that may induce stomach ulcers in horses. Such conditions may include training, racing, showing, traveling, stall confinement, and competition. Yeah, this little back panel here. Dosage. The minimum recommended dosage is 1 milligram per kilogram per day for horses, or a quarter of a syringe. We'll take a look at these here soon. Not for use in humans. Keep this and all medications out of the reach of children. In case of ingestion by humans, contact a physician. Do not use in horses intended for human consumption. What do we have here, folks? What in the world is this? Ulcerguard is intended for the use in healthy horses. If you notice any signs of illness prior to or during the use of this product, consult your veterinarian for appropriate diagnosis and treatment recommendations. Ulcerguard may be used in horses that weigh at least 600 pounds. Effectiveness of Ulcerguard in the prevention of gastric ulcers in foals and weanlings has not yet been evaluated. A lot of this repeats itself, so I will save you from the oddities. Notice this was made by Boehringer Ingelheim. Okay? We are big fans of Boehringer Ingelheim around these parts. It's a German company, and it originated in Ingelheim, Germany. And you know who spent some time in Ingelheim? Yours truly. I recall gallivanting along the streets of Ingelheim, making friends and memories. And one of my friends just so happened to be the son of one of the VPs of Boehringer Ingelheim. Boehringer Ingelheim. I'm saying VP. I don't know what his actual title was, but trust me, they were a very, very wealthy family. And they were very nice. They treated me very nicely. Boehringer Ingelheim, when you look at some of their human products, a lot of them are very innovative. Very innovative. The first of these medications in their class typically come from Boehringer Ingelheim. Or, they'll make a similar medication. But it's not like a complete copycat. They have combination products that make sense, that are not just, let's try to get a pill on the market to squeeze as much money out of Americans as we can. Their combination products actually do make sense. They do have clinical use. And their pricing, it's expensive whenever you look at a brand name medication because they make brand name stuff. But it's right in line with everybody else. They wouldn't just copy a medication and then jack up the price a bunch. They don't do that. So I've been a big fan of Boehringer Ingelheim since 2009 AD. But I want to show you this. And then I want to ask my question to the horse people. This is an oral syringe. You pull this back to the appropriate dose. And you just give it a little squeeze right here. I would presume, you put this in the little horse, not little, 600-pound horse's mouth. Here you can see the color of it. And you just kind of squeeze it in just like this. And then they just swallow it. Good old horse paste. I'd love to see it. Let's see what it tastes like. Oh my gosh. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't eat it. Look. Omeprazole, ironically, is degraded by acidic conditions. In other words, the stomach. So if you as a human take straight omeprazole into your little tum-tum, it will be completely nullified. It'll be chewed up immediately. If you take a human omeprazole capsule and you open it up and you sprinkle it out, the active ingredient is protected by these little beads. And they have a special coating on it called an enteric coating. And this enteric coating does not dissolve in acidic conditions. It protects the molecules until it reaches the intestines. The intestines are not acidic, they are basic. Once in the intestines, those beads will dissolve and the active chemical will be released. And now it's in a condition where the active and chemical will not be degraded. This is amazing. This is like top tier pharmaceutics. It's very impressive and it's very cool. The way these geniuses have to get creative to get some of these medications into your bloodstream, it does not get enough credit. But here's the question as it pertains to the horse paste. What is protecting these chemicals? How are these omeprazole chemicals not being destroyed by the horse's stomach? This is a paste. There is no coating on it. To this I have no answer. But I want to know if a horse expert is watching. Is a horse's stomach less acidic? Does it have a higher pH than humans? That's the only thing I could think about. Perhaps a horse's stomach does not degrade the active ingredients because it's not acidic enough. The other things I was thinking about is maybe there is a protective coating in this paste, but it's so small you couldn't see it. Maybe. Perhaps this being so lipophilic, well, yeah, that wouldn't really matter. The lipophilicity. I'm not sure. I would really like to know. And that's my question to you as you drift off into sleep.